so that we can have people to ask questions, because this is something that might come up quite a bit. We're going to talk about broker load and getting your listings on the MLS, and making changes on the MLS and what needs to happen for you to do that. So up until now, some of you may have had access to uploading your listings and editing them. A lot of the company didn't have that. So we've moved to where we're going to let everybody do that on their own, which is a good thing and can cause some problems too. So today I want to talk a little bit about how to do that. So I'm going to go through the basics of how to load your own listings on the MLS and how to edit them. And then we're going to go through some of the things to be aware of, because that's, if we don't do it right, then that's how we can get in trouble. So at any point, ask questions so that they're clear, but I'm going to kind of go through just the whole process of what we're doing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share, so when we take a listing, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get all the paperwork signed, right? I'm not going to put anything on the MLS without paperwork signed. Okay. Does everybody see my MLS that's up? Just somebody give me a thumbs up if you see it. Perfect. Thanks, Tristan. Okay, so this is just the front page of my MLS. There is a couple different areas that we're going to look at to do this. But first, if you look up here in the top on these drop-down lists, we're going to see my listings. If we create a new listing, this is where we're going to start from. This is where you guys used to get your MLS printout sheet. So probably everybody's been in this section. I've saved one that we're going to work from. So I should go on to my unfinished listings, and I've just got this residential test form here. So I'm going to go in here and edit this. This should be pretty familiar to everybody, because this is what you get your MLS input form from. This is also where you're going to now see this top box up here: create listing, property overview, photo maintenance, open houses, listing documents, data distribution, and then number 7, verify and publish. So now everybody has access to verify and publish their listings. So if you look at this section right here, if you look to the left, you're going to see these green required fields, the reds are errors, and then the oranges are warnings. Everything that's required has to be filled in, or it won't let you publish. So if you're missing some of this information, you've got to put that in before it will actually let you publish. So it's pretty easy. You can just do it online. You can just fill out this information. So if you print out a hard copy of the MLS input form and you take it on your listings and you fill it out, you're going to have to take that information and now you're going to plug it into this section, and you're just going to fill it out as it goes through. I find the easiest way to do is just kind of start going down. You're going to see as we type in, let's just say we type in the listing price here, and I'm going to click on the next one, not a short sale. You can see the required fields just drop down to 24. So if any point in this process you don't know what's missing, you can always refer to the left side and search through them. So if I click next, it's going to take me to the next required field, which is this red dot. If I want to go to my errors, okay, the main errors that are going to be up here is you can't list a home without square footage, you can't list a home without bedrooms, you can't list a home without bathrooms. So those are 3. And then the last one is you can't list a home without a BAC. So some kind of a compensation number that's put in there. Those are the 4 errors that you're going to get. The one that I find with the warnings, you'll get a warning on the tax data number. So the tax number, the parcel number. So basically, I'll just make up a number and you're going to see. Actually have to put in a, there we go. So if it's a number, basically it's just going to warn you and say, this is a finable offense, not included in the municipality of the tax thing. So just make sure you get the right tax number on it, on there. Okay. Any questions on this one? This is, should be pretty familiar with what it is. Let me pull up the chat. Okay, perfect. So you can either unmute and talk to me or write it in the chat. I can see the chat box now. Okay, so this is where we're going to start. So once you have this totally filled out and there's no more required fields, this is 0, the errors is 0, and you probably will just have the one warning because of the tax data. Now you can move on to the next section. Okay, see how it tells me that I can't proceed. So I actually have to go through and do this real quick. So I'm just gonna, let's just put that house in there. Okay, you're gonna have to come in, verify what you're doing, make sure it's the house that you want. So everything's ready. Moving down to the next field. I just got to put pretend thing in here real quick, otherwise I can't move on. All right, so as you go through this, you should have all of this information from your MLS input form. Make sure, I think we've got exclusive right to sell. No, make sure we do our BAC. We're going to give a real nice BAC on that one. Gross, net. All right, let me just make sure I got everything. We're missing something right here. Two-story. Percentage. Sorry about that. Just need to. 1. 1,200 feet. Only 1 bedroom at 700,000. That sounds like the market we're in, right? And there you go. I just need 2 more. Oh. See if I got everything. All right, so once you have everything, let's see, I got 1 error. What's my error? Unresolved error, let's see. All right, that's not working there. Let me just find this error real quick and then we can do it. There you go. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Okay. Next is a photo maintenance. This is where you're going to upload your photos. So you're going to grab your photos. I usually just pull them off my desktop and I can drag them in here. They'll load up and just grab a few of them. Once they load, they're going to be down into this edit file down here. Okay, this is where I can rearrange them. I can put the first one. So if I click on it, I can move it. So if I want to move this over here and I want this one to be my front featured photo, I can do that. I could do a title. So backyard. And I can do a description if I want to. That's going to be public information on the MLS. Okay. Any questions on that? The next thing we're going to do is so once you're completed with that, you go next. Okay, now we're going to go into an open house section. If you want to put an open house, so if on your MLS, on the top side of it, it says the house is going to be open. If you're doing one, you can put in an open house here. Next step is listing documents. So real quick, either in the chat or open up, what are some listing documents you would want to put here?
Lead-based paint if it's built prior to 78.
Yeah, so your lead-based paint,
You
seller's
can
property
do your seller's disclosures.
Yeah,
Now, I had a question about that because I was told that we had to have permission from the seller in order to put the property seller's disclosure on the MLS previously. I was told we had to have their permission. Is that true?
Well, any personal information from the seller that you're going to be putting publicly out there, you'll want to make sure you get permission to do that. But
So are the seller's disclosures considered?
Well, that's private information for the seller. So if you're going to give that out, you're going to need to get permission from that. That's what the Rep C does with our seller's disclosures. They're asking for permission to get those. That's what we're giving them. So just putting them on here, you just want to have something in writing that just says, yeah, you can display my seller's disclosures. But yes, you could put them there. You just want to make sure that you get permission for that one. But really, anything you're giving from your client, you need to make sure they're giving you permission to do that.
I do have a question as well.
Yeah.
Regarding the seller disclosures. We, even if they're on the MLS, we still have to send them to the buyer's agent, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, that's what I thought. We've had experiences where the or the seller's agent is just like, oh, they're on the MLS, you can get them yourself. And so I just wanted to verify that that was incorrect.
Yeah, no, you need, as the listing agent, your responsibility is to get all of that information to the buyer. And it also, I mean, yes, they can go on there and they could download them. I would still send them directly so that you have evidence that you've sent them. Because if you don't have anything to back up that you sent them, it's not going to count.
Hey,
Okay, thank you.
In this last transaction, the seller's agent had the ERS in those documents right there. And I mean, it was nice because actually the person looked like a foreign person and I could see that they had selected as not a foreign person from the ERS. But is that something? I mean, I've never seen an ERS put in there.
I probably personally wouldn't put my ERS in there because that's between me and my client. This is information for agents and people to get in and to look at those. So these are going to be public to the MLS and to the agent that's pulling those up. So I don't know of any real scenario that a buyer's agent needs to know what my exclusive right to sell is. So I don't know why I don't think you should put that there, but
I wondered that too. The one other thing that was interesting about that is that of course it showed the breakdown of the commission, you know, and it looked like even that they were taking less than the buyer's agent commission. So that was interesting, but that's what I wondered because I'd never seen that before.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't think that's a smart idea. Other things I've seen put on this section, if you're doing a new constructions, the building plans, if there's a specific type of warranty with the house you're selling. I've seen some, neighborhood stuff that they wanted to put on there. So all of those things that you can put on that will help the buyers make decisions and move forward are nice to put on there, but that still doesn't release you from still getting the seller's disclosure, that whole section, back to the buyer. So even if it's there, you still need to send it. Okay, any questions on the listing documents? Okay, so once you've got them loaded, you can put some on there. You don't need to. Not every listing has documents attached to it. You're going to go to the data distribution. Okay, this is where all of the information is going to go. So when we say that your listing is going to hit over 800 websites, the way that is done is through this IDX and this VOW. This is how it's sent to different websites. This is how agents get the information. So if you take that off of, if you take any of these off or you decline some of these, then your listing is not going to be syndicated to all of those websites. This is how it's actually going to be distributed. So I've never really changed anything on here. It's already set as a default. But I guess if you have a specific reason you wouldn't want to do that, you can change that. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to publish and verify. Now, obviously, I'm not going to publish this one because it's made up and that would not be a good thing. But you just want to make sure all the information's right. Mainly list price, expiration date, the address. This kind of gives you an idea of what's there. After I publish it to the MLS, every time I go in and make a change, it's noted in the history of your listing. So I'm sure you guys have all seen this where somebody put in a price wrong, they missed a zero, or they put one too many zeros. It was supposed to be 700,000 and they put 7 million, and then they changed it right away. Those are going to be shown in the history. So right here is where you want to make sure that you are checking to make sure that this is all right. Okay. And so right here on the bottom right corner, you're going to see publish to the MLS. Once you click that button, your listing is now live on the MLS. You can save it and come back, just come up here, save as unfinished. So if you're not ready to put it on the MLS. So one of the things I do is I get it all ready in my queue on my MLS. And then when I'm ready to put it live, then all I have to do is come in and publish to the MLS, and then it's published at that moment. So you don't have to publish it right when you put in all this information. You can get all this information done and come back and forth from it. But once you push publish, it's actually going to be live on the MLS. Okay, so now once it's live on the MLS, we've gone through that whole process. So if I come back in to my front page of my MLS, on the right side, there is going to be an inventory section. Show the counts, my listings. So this is just for me right here, 2 under contract. So if I want to come in here, I'm going to click on that. It's going to show the properties that I have under contract or active or whatever I'm looking at. Right here on the left side, it's going to say edit. When I click on the edit button, this box pulls up. Okay, these are the different things that I can change on the MLS. I can edit the listing. If I go into the edit the listing, it goes back to my MLS input form. So any of that information, like let's say that I accidentally put 4 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms, and it was supposed to be 3 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, or whatever it needs to be, and I screwed up on that, I would go into edit the listing and it would pull up the same MLS sheet and I could change that number. It's also where I would change my price. It would be where I would change any information like my remarks. So let's say that I wanted to go back in and say multiple offers received, highest and best by Monday at noon, and I wanted to write that in my thing. I'm going to go to edit my listing, and that's going to pull up that form. Photos, if you're just wanting to change the photos, every once in a while you'll publish a listing and your client will call up and say, you know, why did you use that photo for the first picture of the thing? Or, you know, let's edit this photo or get that photo out of there. You'll go into your photos and you'll edit that. Okay, that's not going to show up on the history. It's just going to show up, changes photos. If you edit the listing, it will. Open houses, if you're going to cancel your open house or do a new open house, that's where you would edit that. Your virtual tour, if you have a photo company that does videos or anything like that, that's where you're going to change this. Your your listing documents, your showings. Occasionally, agents will put suggested MLS comparables on their listings so that other agents can look in and say, okay, this is how you got your price. So if you do that, that's how you put your MLS in there. And then the data distribution, which we talked about, was how it's syndicated to all of the different sites. So if there's a problem with that, you would go into that section. And then the last one is this status change. So when your home goes under contract, and this is one where it goes under contract on a Saturday night late, having broker load is a really good thing because you can go in and you can change it to under contract as soon as you have all the paperwork and make sure that it is changed. It also is where you're going to change if it goes from under contract to back to active. You're going to click on that section and it will change it. Any questions on how to edit your listings once they get on the MLS?
I have one question.
Okay.
When I've gone in to do the status change, like if a property goes under contract, it always requires me to put the selling agent's information on there before it'll change it. But then I've seen other listings that are under contract and they don't show the buyer's agent. So I was wondering how you get around that.
That question, I don't know. I don't know how you get around it unless you're, typically what happens is you have to put something in that field. So my guess is you're going to put something that's not, I don't know that. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know how to
Okay.
get around it.
I was just curious because I've just noticed that.
I can answer that. I think because I've done it a couple of times with Chad. So the status change, if that's like when you're changing it to under contract or anything like that, if it's not an agent that's on the MLS or if it's a non-represented buyer, that's why that there isn't going to be anything there.
Oh, so if there is an agent, you are required to put that. It's only if there's not a realtor involved on the MLS. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Kim. That was great. Yeah. So, and there's a box to check for that, whether they're on the MLS or not. So that's how that works. Any other questions on editing your listings when they're on the MLS?
I think the only other thing
got-
to go ahead.
Sorry. So I'm on mine. Are we still waiting broker loan, or can we edit it now?
You can
Or
edit
us
it.
say like
Yes. it
okay,
should-
because mine still
active.
says. Sorry, mine still says I do not have permission.
Okay. So reach out to Mikkel and she will activate that. So everybody should have been activated. So if yours for some reason doesn't have this ability yet, Mikkel can help you get that fixed.
Cool.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to mention it, but my understanding is before you can edit your listing, you actually have to have permission from the seller to edit anything on that listing with the change form. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that next. Some of the challenges. So right now we just finished how to do this process. Now we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what's needed to make this happen. So it's not one of those things where you can just go in and just change your listings as often as you want. I mean, you can, but there's some pitfalls for that. And one of them is you need permission from your seller to do some of these changes. So I'm going to back out of my MLS here, and we're going to go through 3 documents that are necessary for it. Okay, so everybody knows we need the exclusive right to sell addendum, right? Okay, so I'm still seeing these. This is the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. I'm still seeing these come in from the MLS. So on the MLS, all of our forms are there and they're easy to get to, but there's an exclusive right to sell on the MLS, and then there's a specific Century 21 exclusive right to sell. There is a lot of changes that we put into our contract that's not on the MLS. Our contract's very, there's a lot of things that protect you and give you permission to do things in your listings that the normal MLS one doesn't have. So I'm still seeing agents using the old MLS, not the old, I mean, it's the updated version on the MLS. But if you go into Loop and you pull out the exclusive right to sell listing agreement that's Century 21 specific, so you'll see on the very top, it says Century 21. There's a specific one that relates to us. So please use the exclusive right to sell.
Jason, can I give a suggestion?
Sure.
On Loop, you can actually make your own folders on the left-hand side. So what I have done to make it easier is just put all of the documents that is for a listing in a folder. And then anytime that there are changes, I just have to change out that one document. And then that way I always know I'm using the most current ones. Just a suggestion.
No, that's a great suggestion. Simplifying your Loop and making things easier for you is definitely a good thing. Just make sure you change out the different addend, or when we update them as a company, you switch them out so you don't use the old one. We will be changing the exclusive right to sell. We've probably in the next 2 weeks. So we'll just update that. It's just some minor differences. Every time we get some kind of a complaint or some kind of a lawsuit brought against us as a company, we look for ways to build that into our contract so that we can protect you guys better. So as we are evolving, so are these contracts. Okay, so that's the exclusive right to sell. That needs to be signed by the owners of the properties. And that could be one, could be two, could be multiple people that are on there. So you'll want to check your title report to make sure the right people are signing. Okay, the next thing that you'll need is if we want to make any changes to the exclusive right to sell. Let's see. So the first one that I'm going to bring up is an addendum. This is the addendum to the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Okay, there's two of these that I'm going to bring up. Okay, this one is an addendum. This is changing things in the exclusive right to sell itself. So if I'm changing the commission, if I'm changing, like I've seen where we have to fix our expiration dates and the effective dates or things like that. These are things that have to do with the actual exclusive right to sell, where I'm going to put the information right here in this box. The challenge with this addendum is that whenever you use this addendum, needs a principal broker signature on the bottom. So Russ, myself, Nick, we can sign those for you, but you do need to get one of the signatures for it. Now, there's another addendum that is called the exclusive right to sell change addendum. So I'm going to bring that up real quick. This is similar to the one, let's make this bigger. Can you guys see that? Do you see the change addendum? Good. Okay, so this one is the change addendum. This is where you're going to make changes on the MLS. So what Jeanette was saying earlier, that you have to get permission from your seller to make changes on the MLS. This is the stuff that makes that happen. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do an addendum, and I'll put the property address and the sellers, the MLS. If I'm doing a price change, I'll do this. If I'm doing a status change, I'll do this. We do need to update this form because it's not off market status anymore. It's active no show, which is the same thing as off market, but it's going to be new words. So if you see active no show, it really means off market. Anything in the MLS that you want to change, items, you're going to change it from there, or if you want to change in the remarks, what you want to add into that. Now, the advantage to this form, so all of this stuff you can do on the other addendum if you want to write it in. However, with the other addendum, I have to sign it. This one, I don't have to sign it. So if you come in here and you're making these changes and you have the seller sign them, and then you have to sign them. So once this is signed, now you can go on and do the MLS change. So to get yourself, so to make sure you don't get in trouble, having these things signed before you change the MLS is critical. So if I send this out to my seller, they want to do a price change and they say, I want to do a price change right now, and they haven't signed this, you need to wait until they sign this to do the price change. Okay, so that's where this is critical. The advantage to this form is you don't have to wait for me to sign it for you to change your MLS. You can just go in and sign it. But if you do your price change on the other addendum, then you need me to sign it before you can make those changes. So just use this exclusive right to sell change addendum through the process. Okay, any questions on the exclusive right to sell or these change addendums or the addendums? Okay, the last thing that we'll go through, and we're really just going to touch on it, is the last thing you need for your MLS, and that's the MLS input form. You just need to have that signed. So really there's two things that we need to have signed: the exclusive right to sell and the MLS input form. Those are the two things in order for you to go live on the MLS. So before, I don't think Marissa's on. The office would review your contracts, then they would make them live. Now the office is still going to have, we still review your paperwork. So you still have to submit it to in your dot loop. You'll submit for review. The difference is once you submit that for review and you have all the right paperwork, you can go on the MLS yourself and change it. So you don't need to wait for us to change it as long as you have this paperwork signed and ready to go. What we don't want to have happen is, and we have this happen lots of times, is where agents will get a listing, they have the broker load, they'll upload their listing and never submit a loop until it's under contract. So once you go active on the MLS, we've got to create a file for it. So you got to submit that to the office. Okay, that's broker load in its simplest form. Any questions or concerns or any comments?
Thank you for the information.
Okay, there's no other questions. We'll jump off and you guys can reach out if you have any more questions moving forward. But
that's actually one of my questions. Who do we reach out if there's questions?
So questions pertaining to the contracts, you'll reach out to Russ or myself. If you're
Okay.
if you have questions about loading it on the MLS or anything that's a problem with that, then you would go to Marissa or Brianna.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
you guys
Jason.
have a
I
great-
appreciate it.
Yep, have a great weekend.
Thank you.